Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to today's session of the online course. The course is titled Starting Your First Business. So, we started yesterday and we learned that there are three levels of required knowledge to starting a business. And the first one is financial education, and the second one is knowledge on entrepreneurship, and the third one is starting the business. So, we started with financial education. So we started with money and we talked about money, assets and liability and so many things. So today we'll be talking about banking. Yeah, we did a little bit of the banking yesterday, but we did not finish. So I'll start from the banking um, for the purpose of our studies today. So we said that under the banking we have two concepts that you need to understand. We have the savings and we have the debt. This banking system actually emerged from the money system. We have banks because of money. If there is no money, there wouldn't be any bank. Okay. So banking is also a system on its own that you need to understand how they operate and everything. So the concept that we'll be talking about for the purpose of our studies is savings and debt. Savings and debt. Yeah, so we asked whether savings is a good thing or not. And then we said savings is a bad practice. And the reason why we say savings is a bad practice is because of inflation. Because of inflation. Inflation is the persistent increase in the price of goods and services. Inflation actually what eats away your money. When anytime you want to buy something and the price has increased, you should ask yourself whether the quantity of that thing has also increased. If it has not increased, what it basically means is that the money that you were holding previously has devalued. That is why. So now you need to get extra money to be able to acquire the same product that you used to buy previously. So let's say you have something like you want to buy a bottle of Coke, which used to be 5 cedis, and today you go and they said it's 10 cedis, yet it's the same quantity, it's the same size. What it basically means is that your money, that 5 cedis that you were carrying, has devalued, and it has devalued by 5 cedis, which means that you do not even have any money at all. You have to now go and get extra 5 cedis and add to it before you can acquire that product. So that is what we what is what that is the basic understanding of inflation. So it's the persistent increase in the price of goods and services. It's the persistence, the continuous increase that makes it inflation. Now, uh, is this a good thing or a bad thing? Is inflation a good thing or a bad thing? We would be able to answer this question if we compare it to its counterpart, which is deflation. And deflation is just right the opposite. It's the persistent decrease in the price of goods and services. So whilst inflation is the increase, deflation is the decrease. Okay. Now, people will say, oh, deflation is a good thing. If the price of goods and things are going down, then why don't we go for deflation instead? But wait a minute. Let's talk about the dangers of deflation. Deflation, when deflation happens, what basically means that people will not buy. And the reason why people will not buy is because of this scenario. When you want to buy, let's say, a car which costs, let's say, 30,000, and then you realize or you hear that the price of the car will reduce in the next 2 months to 20,000. Any normal person will hold on with the purchase of the car and buy it the next 2 months, anticipating the drop in price. What happens next? Don't forget deflation is a persistent decrease in the in prices of goods and services. So when you get to that month that you are ready to buy the product, you again hear or anticipate that the price of the product will reduce to 10,000. What happens is that you are going to defer your purchases again because because you're a customer, you always want to get it cheap. So what happens is that people will not buy when there is deflation. People will not buy. They will always be deferring. They want to wait until the prices are down before they buy. And when people are not buying, there will be no sales, taking it from the perspective of the business. And if there is no sales, there will be no production because if what has been produced has not been sold, how, how then do we produce more? So there will be no production. And if there are no production, or if there is no production, jobs will be lost. And taxes, there will be no taxes to the government as well. Because if the business is not operating, how is the business going to pay tax? The economy will then collapse. These are the dangers of deflation. This is just one-sided. We are not even seeing it from the side or the perspective of the workers, the job holder, the person who was working in the company, those who will be laid off. There are series of troubles or dangers associated with deflation. And so the government hates deflation. They try as much as possible to avoid deflation. Deflation is a number one killer. It can kill the economy one time. And this is something that has happened before, happens in other countries and all that. And they had to get a bailout. So if the government does not want deflation or hate deflation, what then do you think they want? It is inflation. They want inflation. Inflation is what keeps the economy going. Just that we want a little bit of it. You see, when it becomes so high, it's called hyperinflation. A little bit of inflation is what keeps the economy going so that people will be encouraged to buy and production will keep moving. Are you following? So now, what happens is that the government does so many things just to promote inflation. And one way to create inflation is through debt. And the government uses a system to create debt through the banks or through themselves, through the government itself. So today, for the purpose of our studies, we are going to talk about the banks, how the banks create debt. Now, there's something we call fractional reserve. Fractional reserve is what makes your money e-currency. Now, when I tell you now that I've sent you a money or have deposited money into your account, you will never go into your bank account to check the amount. You will just check your account balance on your phone or check your text message, and then that's all. You are good to go. But it will interest you to know that your bank balance is actually not real. They are just text messages. It is a way or it's a system which commercial banks use against you. And that system is not something that you'll be able to accept or understand unless there is that bank rush when people run on the bank at the same time. You see, when we all go to our banks at the same time, the same minute, the same hour, that is when you will know that the monies in your bank account were not actually there, they were not real. The reason why when you go to the bank you still receive money is because when you go to your bank, I am not going with you. So when you go, they'll give my money to you. And when I'm ready to take my money, they'll give another person's money to me. So they keep giving someone's money to you because they know that we will all not come at the same time. So now, how is debt created? They create debt through fractional reserves. And this is a system which allows commercial banks to keep a portion of a customer's deposit on reserve. and lend out the remainder of their money to borrowers. So fractional reserve, just as the name implies, fractional. So fractional reserve. So it states or gives is a power that is given to banks that anytime you deposit money in your account, the bank should just keep a percentage of it. So depending on the percentage, could be 10%, 20%. So let's assume it's 10%. So they will keep 10% of the deposit and loan out 90% to another person. This mechanism allows banks to create money out of thin air. Do you know why? Because when they reserve the 10% of your money in your account in their books and they loan out the 90% to someone who came in for the loan, your bank balance hasn't changed. It's still 100. Yet the new person also is having a new balance, which is 90. So they have created money out of thin air. Your 100 Ghana cedis has created a 90 Ghana cedis, just like that. And that 90 Ghana cedis also existing in the system, but in the form of e-money, e-cash, or e-currency. Is a debt. The reason why we are not able to detect is because they always have to use someone's money to pay another person's money. But when we all go to the bank the same time, you realize that doesn't there's nothing like my money is in the bank. It's gone. Other people are using your money. This is the legal way that banks print money. This is the legal way that banks print money. So now, how do you also create your own money or print your money legally? How do you also print or create your money legally? Don't forget, we are still on the concept of the banking, and we spoke that the first concept is what savings, and the second one is what debt. So now we are on debt. We are talking about debt now. So, what is debt? What is debt? I wouldn't want to go into the definition because it makes it more complicated. But let's just hover around, talk about some few things, and get to understand what really debt is about before we define debt. But you can keep the knowledge that you have about debt, that definition, which talks about a loan or credit or you borrowing something from someone. Let's keep it that way for now. In considering that, we have two types of debt. The first one is called good debt, and the second one is called bad debt. I'm not talking about bad debt in business because those who are doing business administration, they will be thinking bad debt is a debt that has not been paid. No, understand this bad debt in the with the concept or the context that we are doing our studies. So debt as in loans, we have good loan and a bad loan, or good debt and a bad debt. So what is a bad debt? When we say bad debt, what is a bad debt? It's a debt or a loan, okay, that is serviced by a different source of money. It's a debt that is used to buy a liability. Are you following? It's a debt that the source of its servicing or financing is different from what is being used for. Okay. Now, this only happens when you use the money to buy a liability. Let's look at this scenario. A bad debt. Someone takes a loan. A worker takes a loan to buy a car, a private car, okay, or to build a home. What basically happens here is that the money they took, they used it to buy something that cannot generate money because that thing is a liability. Don't forget the definition for asset and liability. Liability takes money out of your pocket. Asset puts money in your pocket. So a loan that is used to buy liability, what basically means is that that liability will not even bring you money. Are you with me? It will not bring you money. Yet every month you repay the loan. So if I buy a car with a loan, when the month ends, how do I repay the loan? That monthly repayment, how do I pay? I now have to use my salary to pay because that thing that I am having or I bought with the loan is not generating money. The car is not giving me money. The house that I am in doesn't give me money. Do you understand? We will go deeper with some examples later. Let's quickly move to good debt. Now, why is a good debt? It's just the direct opposite. This debt its source of financing or servicing is the same. What it basically means is that you use the debt, you take a debt or a loan to buy an asset. And don't forget, asset puts money in your pocket. Asset does what? It puts money in your pocket. So what happens is that when when the asset begins to generate money, when the asset begins to generate money, what happens? That money is what you use to service the loan. So I took a loan to buy an asset, and every month that asset gives me money. So the repayment, I use that same money to repay. Unlike the bad debt, I bought a liability, so it's not giving me anything. So every month I need to get some money from an extra source to service it. Don't forget, we are still talking about how to print money. How to what? Print money legally. Because we're talking about how banks print their money. And let's understand how the banks print money. Let's understand the principle. This will help us to understand ours as well. Let's look at the fractional reserve again. Let's look at the fractional reserve again. So the first deposit here, as you can see, they deposit 100 cedis, or I deposit 100 cedis into my account. When a fractional reserve is 10%, what it means is that my bank, will just keep 10 cedis of my money and can loan out 90 cedis of that money. So when that 90 cedis is loaned, don't forget that that person who received the money also deposits it in his account. And when it gets into his account, that bank as well is allowed to what? Give out 90% and keep 10%. So another money is created, 81. This it goes on and on and on and on unto the 10th level because it's 10%. Look at this. At this level, look at how much is created. $190. $190 is created just on the first level. So your money that you deposited, the 100 cedis, has now become 190. So the fake money or the fake money or the money that is not real is the extra 90 cedis that has been added. And this is what causes the inflation. This is the illegal money. This is the money that they have printed, but it is not a physical money. It's a e-cash. It's a text message on your phone, and you can use it because when you want to use it, they'll get someone's own and give to you. Let's look at the next level. When you are on the 81, when you move to the next level, the second level, the money becomes what? 271. So a deposit of $100 have now become what? 271. Do you understand? You see, can you see how the money is being created? These monies are all real, just that they are not physical cash, they are e-cash in the system. This is debt. This is what creates the inflation. So just the simple 100 cities that you deposited, the real fake money that has been printed or created, just on this two level, just on the two level, because we can go on and on and on, is 171. So you can imagine the amount of debt that is being created. But let us not call it debt. Let's call it printing of money, because this money is in the system. When they do this, it gets into the system and is being used. So it's a real money that we are using, just that it's a debt. So when they pay back the money, then it cancels or it calls off. Anytime they pay, then it cancels, but the interest now becomes the profit for the bank. So this is how the banks print their money. So now, how do you also print your money? How can you legally print your money? And that is the strategy, the same strategy that you are going to use. And it's called OPM, other people's money. Other people's money. Money is a current. That is why it's called currency. It is supposed to be flowing currency. So anytime someone is not using money, someone has to use it. So the OPM is a strategy that you can use to print your own money, which you understand very soon. So OPM, use good debt to make more money. So we studied, we understood what a good debt and a bad debt is. That a good debt is a debt used to what? Buy assets. So under OPM, or using the OPM strategy, what it basically means is that you are going to use someone's money. And I mean someone, I'm not saying go and take money from someone. I mean those who have deposited their monies in the bank who are not using it. Okay, the bank will take their money and give to you, because the money cannot stay there. Money is current, it has to flow. Currency has to be flowing. You understand? So the bank will give you other people's money to buy an asset. Do you get my point? But don't forget, the bank doesn't decide whether you should buy an asset with it or liability. But this is why you are here. You need to understand that when you take such credit or loan, you need to use it to buy an asset. And the reason why you need to buy an asset with it is because if you buy an asset with a loan, you create money out of thin air. And I'll show you now how it works. So let's look at an example. You build a rental property with a loan. I take a loan. Instead of building my own private house or home, I build some three-bedroom house somewhere. Then I rent it out to some people. Or I buy a car. Instead of driving it, I use it as an Uber. Okay, I use it as an Uber. Then when I use it as an Uber, what happens? Let's look at this scenario now. How did you also print your fake money? Let's look at how it works. So I took 80,000 from the bank without paying anything. And I'm talking about something that is real. If you are, let's say, a government worker, when you want to receive them and you want to go in for a loan, you don't send it, you don't have to give them any collateral or anything. You just use your pay slip and then they'll give you the loan. If you're a business owner and you are doing business and you have maintained your bank for long, and then you are with the bank and your books are clean, you can get a loan without any collateral. So let's say I go in for a loan, 80,000, and I buy an asset with it. And this time I buy an Uber, a car, a car for Uber. Every month, what happens is that this driver or this Uber driver brings me 5,000 as my sales. Okay, it brings me 5,000 as my sales. And the loan that I took, every month I pay 3,000. The repayment is 3,000 every month. So let's do the calculation. After paying that loan, I'm left with 2,000 free money. Don't forget, I went in for 80,000 with nothing. I didn't give them money to take that 80,000. No collateral. Even if there's a collateral, fine, it's fine. So I take the 80,000. I buy an asset. That asset is giving me what? 5,000 every month. I repay the loan of 3,000 every month. So I have extra free money, which is 2,000. You see, I'm using someone's money. Please understand this whole thing. I'm using someone's money. I've still not touched my money. I'm using someone's money. I'm just playing with the system. I'm using someone's money. What happens is that after 5 years, let's say this loan, the repayment period is 5 years. So after 5 years, I would have finished paying the loan. And what happens is that after these 5 years, this car is finally mine. And I will still be receiving 5,000 every month from the car. Do you see how you have used someone's money or OPM to produce one, an asset, and two, to create money out of thin air? The money that you are receiving and the 5,000 monthly you're receiving did not exist, but you just use someone's money to create that. This is the principle that people do not understand. Okay, they do not understand, so they use it in the form of the bad debt. But you see, when you use it well, after the 5 years, you now own the car, a car that you did not buy with your own money. You will still earn that 5,000 every month. So you see, you just got yourself a free car with OPM or through OPM. Let's look at the other side. What if you are using OPM, but you are using it in the form of a bad debt? And I said a bad debt is using a loan to buy a liability, something that will not give you money. So an example is I take a loan and I buy a car, a private car for myself. What it means is that every month I have to repay the loan, the same loan. Now I pay 3,000 every month. So every month I need to repay the loan 3,000. Don't forget, I need to repay 3,000 every month. Now the question is, where am I going to get that 3,000? Where? Because the thing that I am having doesn't give me money. The private car that I am driving doesn't give me money. So now I need to pay it with my salary. You understand? I need to pay the loan with my own salary. So if my salary was 6,000 a month, it has been divided into two now. Now my salary is no longer enough. That's where the hardship begins. Then you see that I have to keep on borrowing. I have to go and borrow again. Let's look at after 5 years. What is the difference? Using a good debt and a bad debt. After 5 years, what happens? After 5 years, when you use a bad debt to buy a car, you do not have a free car. You cannot say you have a free car. Do you know why? Because the amount, the price of the car, you paid everything through your salary. It's just the convenience that was given to you because they just spread it over the period, let's say the 5 years. But as for the car, it's not free because you paid every amount with your own salary. Unlike the good debt, you did not pay it with your money, you paid it with the same asset. So the source of servicing or the financing comes from directly that asset. Are you following? The source of the source of repaying, like paying the loan back, you paid it through your salary. So if your salary was 6,000, it's now 3,000, and you'll be suffering. So after 5 years, then you have the car, but the car is not a free car. You bought it with your money. But with the good debt, you got a free car. You got a free car, and you are still getting free money. You are printing free money. You are printing what? Free money. Let's look at it again. You will have your own car. You will still earn 5,000 every month. That is with a good debt. And you are still what? You'll be having that free, so you're having the free money, and you have the car. But unlike the bad debt, everything was a sacrifice. You sacrificed today for tomorrow. You paid every penny of the car yourself. This is why you need to understand financial education, because this helps you to know the decisions to make, the right decisions to make, and all that. So we all, one way or the other, or someday, will go in for a loan. And the question we need to ask ourselves is, what are we using the loan for? Are we using it for a good cause, or is the loan a good debt or a bad debt? To make it simple, is the loan would the loan be used to buy something that is an asset, or be used to buy something that is a liability? That's what you need to ask yourself. Okay, so we have come to the end of the financial education. Don't forget, we are still trying to get to how to start a business. So we are this is just an introduction to financial education. A lot more are there, but for the purpose of the course, we're just doing the introduction and everything. So now let's move to entrepreneurship. Knowledge on entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is something that a lot of us, we know, we've heard. People have been saying entrepreneur, 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 and all that. What is really an entrepreneur, or what is entrepreneurship? For us to understand, you see, I think for by now you know that I am not someone that likes to define things right from the beginning. I like to talk about a thing for you to define it yourself. So again, entrepreneurship. What is entrepreneurship? I do not want to define it. Let's go to the basis of it. How did this whole thing begin? And what is it even about? What is it even about? Let's go straight to the Bible. The beginning, the genesis of everything. This is where entrepreneurship is. God said in Genesis chapter 1, verse 28, says, "And God blessed them, and God said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth, subdue it and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over everything that moveth upon the earth." This was a command that God gave us. God said we should subdue, we should have dominion over the things, everything on earth. God gave us that power, and that power is what we call entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is the ability to have dominion over everything. And you understand very soon. Entrepreneurship is the ability to have dominion over everything. If you do not have dominion over everything, then you are not an entrepreneur. If you don't have control over your own life, then you're not an entrepreneur. If someone dictates for you when you should come to work, or when you should receive your salary, you need to work before 30 days you receive your salary. You're not an entrepreneur. You do not have control, because when you need money, you need to wait till the end of the month. When you want to go on holidays, you need to request for permission. You don't have control over your life. Entrepreneurship, as we'll be seeing now, is the ability to have dominion over everything. Let's define it in economics. In economics, they say an entrepreneur is a person who combines the other factors of production. to earn money. When we say factors of production, what do we mean by factors of production? They are things that are needed to produce something or to create a productive service or anything at all. So we need entrepreneurship, we need labor, we need capital and land. So there are four factors of production. And everything in this world is put under this. So entrepreneurship, as we see, is the head. So before I talk about entrepreneur, let me talk about labor. Labor is the human being, the human capital, the people that help you to what produce the thing. The capital is the machines or the cash or the premises that you use for the production. So capital can be in the form of cash or the machine or anything physical that helps you to produce the thing. And the land is all those resources, the natural resources and everything that you use in the actual production, the materials, you understand, the natural resources that help you, the land itself, the resources that helps you to what, transform to that you add value to it to produce the product. Now, these are the factors of production. Now, let's go back to the definition again. So, an entrepreneur is a person who combines the other factors of production to earn a profit. So, when someone is an entrepreneur or entrepreneurship, is the ability to have dominion over all these things. You have control over labor, control over people, you have control over capital, you have control over land. That is entrepreneurship. That is entrepreneurship. If you don't have control over land, if you don't have, when I say land, the resources, if you do not have access to it, if you don't have access to capital, if you don't have access to people, then you're not an entrepreneur. We are still trying to understand what an entrepreneur is. Another way that will help us, or perspective that we can use to understand entrepreneurship, is the opposite side of entrepreneurship. What is the opposite side of entrepreneurship? The opposite side of entrepreneurship is slavery. Yes, slavery. And you understand very soon. One might say, is it not employment? Not really. It's slavery. Slavery is actually what led to employment. Slavery is the opposite, the direct opposite of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is having dominion over everything, and slavery is when you are being controlled, when you are being placed under a leash, or you are being you like there's like you are being controlled, managed by other people. Your life is controlled. But don't forget, per the commandment that God gave us that we read in the Genesis, God did not put man under man. God did not say man should have dominion over man. He said we should have dominion over fishes, the living creatures and everything that is on earth, but not man. So the moment you have dominion over man, you are trying to enslave someone. That is slavery. And the reason why this thing came about is because slavery itself is a curse. Slavery is a curse because from the beginning, God did not put any man under another man. Slavery is a curse, and very soon you understand why employment too is a curse. So let's understand why slavery is a curse. There's this story about Noah in the Bible, not a story, a real thing, that iniquity was so much in the world or on earth, and God wanted to wipe out everyone. So he found just one generation or one person that was righteous, and that was Noah and his children. But prior to this incident, Noah's father, Lamech, was in the spirit. So when he was naming his child, he named him Noah. And let's read what the Bible says here. This is Genesis 29, Genesis chapter 5, verse 29. The actual incident of Noah hasn't happened, yet the father was able to what? Know into the future and say and said this. Genesis chapter 5, verse 29. And called his name, that is his father, called his name Noah. This is a naming ceremony for Noah, saying, out of the ground that the Lord has cursed, this one shall bring us relief from our work and from the painful toil of our hands. So, what is happening here is that Noah was to redeem us from the curse. Don't forget, God cursed the ground because of what? Because of our sins. And it's the same sins that what pushed God to bring the flood into the earth. So, God was trying to do away with sin, and He let one person to stay. So when God has dealt with sin, we now have a righteous person, which is now the Noah. So in a way, that curse that was given to us from the beginning has been cancelled because iniquity has been taken away. So Noah was now the one to bring forth the new generation. And don't forget, every human being that we have on this planet is a descendant of either Noah or Adam. We all are coming from either Noah or Adam. Everyone comes from Noah. Okay. But now, Noah was able to successfully clear this curse by being the righteous person and creating a new generation. But he made another dire mistake. Right after he had saved us and everything, that God was okay, Noah now pronounced a curse on a part of the generation. No one pronounced a curse again. And this happened when Noah went and he was tilting the ground. He said he harvested his wine and then he was drunk or whatever. Then he was naked. Then one of his sons saw his nakedness and was mocking him. So when he woke up, Genesis chapter 9, verse 25, he said, cursed be Canaan. You see, Noah is cursing again. Don't forget, Noah, all of us, we are descendants of Noah. Okay. And Noah had three children. And this Canaan was the son of one. Okay. So it's more like now it's four generations. So now no one is pronouncing a curse on one part and saying that cursed be Canaan. Listen to what he said. The lowest slaves he will be to his brothers. Don't forget, we all one way or the other will come from any of the sons of Noah, either Shem, Japheth, or Ham. You understand? So now what is happening here is that one side has been cursed, and that curse is that he must be a slave. He must work for his brothers. He must work for another person. Are you following? Let's look at the other person. You see, he only cursed one generation. He didn't curse the others. He also said, 26, worthy of praise is the Lord, the God of Shem. May Canaan be the slave of Shem. He has cursed Canaan again. So Canaan has to work for Shem. He has to be a slave and work for Shem. 27, he wants to now talk about the, the next generation, Japheth. He said, may God enlarge Japheth's territory and numbers. May he live in a tent of Shem. Again, may Canaan be the slave of Japheth. Wow. So Noah has placed one generation to be a slave and worker for the rest though. Because look at this. Slave to Shem and slave to Japheth. Are you following? So this is why we have people who have to suffer to be slaves, people who have to suffer to be working for other people. And when God does not open your eyes to break free from this curse, you will think it's a good thing, because when a curse is working on you, you will not understand how it works. But every human being descended from Noah. So whether you like it or not, you operate in any of this. You are either a master or a slave. But when Jesus Christ came, he dealt away with all these curses and everything. But if you do not understand this concept, you will still fall. That's why it is God or Jesus that will open your eyes to be a master, to not to be a slave. Working for someone is a slave. Let's look at another example. Joshua chapter 9, verse 23. Joshua cursed a particular tribe. And let's look at how he pronounced the curse. He said, may you be cursed. He's talking to a whole tribe. From now onward, you always be servants who cut wood and carry water for the house of God. Look at, anytime the curse comes, is servant. Anytime curse comes, is servant. Are you following? Anytime curse comes, is servant, slaves, servant, slave, slave, servant. So slavery is a curse. If you are working for someone, it's a curse. Especially if you are going to work till you die. No wonder there's so much stress in working for someone. Let's look at how this whole thing began. We didn't just start from just generation and start from slavery. No. When this whole journey began, the ancient time, there was nothing like slavery. What happened was that there was something that we call hunting and gathering. Every family fed for themselves. So when you need something, the head of the family will go out and what? Gather fruit or hunt for animal and bring it to the family, and they eat, they enjoy, they sleep. This was what was happening. But they had issues with this hunting and gathering, because the more you hunt and you are hunting and you are gathering, you have to be crossing territories and all that. So they were having issues. Sometimes they go, they don't come back because they will be killed and all that. Sometimes you trespass on other people's territory and so many issues. So they began to learn how to hunt in one side, and that process is termed as farming. So instead of now roaming about looking for something, produce the thing right here. So you want to harvest maize or corn, harvest it here, produce it here. So farming was introduced into the system. If you want to eat meat, rear animals. So when people began to do this farming and all that, this is where slavery began, because they needed someone to help them to work, because they were now working. They were now doing the farming on large scale. So they needed people to work. This is why the white came to Africa and was taking Africans or Ghanaians to work in the plantations in US or Europe. They needed people to work for them. They want to farm on large scale. They cannot do it by themselves. So what happens? They had to seize other people and take them under tough conditions to go and work. That is slavery. But slavery led to employment. Slavery is what actually led to employment. But it's not different from employment, and you understand it very soon. Slavery is the same as employment. Employment is just a reformed slavery system. It's just that they took away some few things, and then we still maintain the system. So the employment is still slavery. And if employment is still slavery, then it means employment too is a curse. But how did it progress? How did we move from slavery to employment? Rebellion. People start to rebel because God did not put any man under another man. So people will rebel because you can't oppress someone. You can't oppress people and be and be using them under harsh conditions. So they decided to rebel and fight, and they were killing their masters, and the slaves too were dying, and over years, like this was a serious issue. The slaves were fighting for freedom. The slaves were fighting for what? Their freedom. So finally, they had to abolish slavery because of the problem that were occurring. Farms were being burnt down, problems, so many problems. Okay, so when slavery was abolished, now the thing is, who should work in the farm now? Because they still have to produce for people to eat. You see, they still have to produce for people to eat. But here's the case: they said nobody should work for another person. And that was also when industries were springing up and factories to convert the sugar cane to sugar and all that. So the factories were there. They needed people to work there. So instead of abolishing slavery, they didn't abolish it, they just reformed it. They just tweaked just some few things, and then they created a new system, and that system is what we call employment. There were two main issues with a slavery system. No reward. They were not paid salary for working for another person. And they had no freedom. They cannot leave. They had to be there forever. They had to work for other people. So slaves work for other people, or servants work for other people with no salary or no reward or compensation. Are you with me? With no reward or compensation. That's the slavery system. But when it moved into the employment, only one issue was addressed. The other was left unaddressed. And what was addressed was compensation for work done. Now, you can work for someone and receive wage or salary or your paycheck because it's a reform slavery. Now, work for me, I'll pay you, I'll compensate you. But for freedom, no, you don't have your freedom. The boss has to tell you when to come to work. The boss has to tell you when to close. When you are sick, you need to call and ask for permission before you go. You do not have freedom. The whole year, you cannot do anything unless you go on leave, and that leave you need to go according to what is being the requirement. So employment is just a glorified form of slavery. It's just something that people are, you see, because it's been long. So slavery was something happened long ago. So people have forgotten. So now everybody say employment. But employment is just a glorified form of slavery. You still don't have freedom. You are working for someone, you are controlled, like you have to do something whether you like it or not, and so many issues. The issues with employment is that you are pursuing other people's dreams. Someone is trying to create something and you are the one helping them to create it. This is why always you are not content. People are always not content. Those who work, they are always asking for higher salary because they feel that they are doing more and they are paying less. They are being paid less. The owners are getting more because the owners are the entrepreneurs. The owners have control. They have dominion. So you see, when they go to this stress, always strike, today strike, tomorrow strike, today strike, tomorrow strike. They are going on strike, demonstration, high salary and all that. They forget that the system is not designed for human beings. The system is a slavery system, it's a curse. So after all this, what happens is that there's no fulfillment because you're going to continue this until you're 60 years and then you come back home and die. Why is the fulfillment? Because you've just been having issue. Yet education is what leads all of us to employment. Education leads everyone to this same destination. This is employment. Let's look at this quote. It says, education is a pilot, okay, or an airplane or whatever, that lands you in the sea. Now, the decision is now yours to either swim to the shore or the deep sea. Let's look at it this way. This is just a pictorial this in illustration. So this is the sea. You see, because it's a picture, you can see the shore, but in reality, you are not seeing the shore. Okay, so they drop you after graduation when you finish the university. They dropped you into the world, the ocean. Don't forget when they drop you when you after university, university does not tell you what to do. They did not even call you after a year and ask you have you gotten a job or how is life after school. No, they just leave you to do whatever you want. But woe betides you if you swim to the deep sea. But the thing is, you see, how do you even know? How do you even know that behind you is the deep sea and ahead is the shore? You cannot see. Are you with me? Because where you are, you cannot see. So mostly, the easiest way is the direction that they will put you. So if you are facing, if they put you in the sea and you are facing north, you start swimming to the north, and that's how education puts you, let's say in the north, in the direction of what employment. So when you finish school, what do you start doing? You start looking for job. Start looking for job. And don't forget, if you swim to the deep sea, you have one major challenge, and that challenge is you need to keep swimming. Swimming. The day you stop swimming, you will die. And that is what employment does. It's a slavery, it's a form of slavery. You need to keep working hard and hard and hard and hard and hard, pushing to meet your boss expectations and all that. The day you will stop work, you will die. The day you will stop swimming, you will drown and die. The day you will be fired, you can't put food on the table. So you see, you graduate and you mistakenly use the wrong path, which is employment. There are so many struggles, so many issues. But the other side, which is the shore, you see, there's another side which is the shore. It doesn't mean that this person will not swim. They still swim. They'll still swim. They'll still swim more. But the thing is that they they have a destination. They will have rest very soon. They will suffer. Entrepreneurs also suffer. Being an entrepreneur doesn't mean when you start making money. They also suffer. So they swim, they go through the stress, the same problems they go through. But just that with the entrepreneurship, you have a destination. You are going to the shore. So there's a time coming that you will now start benefiting from what you have sold. You have rest. There's a time coming that you can rest for your business to be operating without being there. This is why we recommend people to take the path of the entrepreneurship. Because when you take the deep sea, you will not have rest. You will keep going and going and going and going. Nobody will come to your rescue. But at least when you get to the shore, you can have some rest and hunt for some food and whatever. So my question to you now is, which direction do you want to take? Do you want to keep swimming till you die, or you want to swim and have some rest when you get to the shore? Then choose the right path. How do you even know which direction? They will not, you will not know, because you see, education only teaches one side. All they are saying is have your first class, get the best result and get the best CV and get the best job. All they are promoting is that when you are in school, they say career day. You will never hear anyone saying, you will never hear any student or any child saying I want to be an entrepreneur. All you hear is I want to be a doctor, I want to be a nurse, I want to be engineer, I want to be this. Entrepreneurship is not promoted in school. They only teach how you can work for someone, how you can be a good employee. It's a system that leads you to slavery. We at Megar or the Mega Club, we just want you to understand that there are three sides to a coin. Most people think it's two sides, the head, the tail, but it's three sides to a coin. We have the edge. So the head, the tail, and the edge. So instead of being shown one side, why don't we put you on the edge? So that you can view both sides and see which one is good. So now at least you know about employment. We are helping you to know about entrepreneurship. So when you finish school, you can decide which one should I take. Should I work for someone or I should start my own journey? That is the purpose of this course. That is the purpose of Mega Club. That is why we are putting out these programs and everything to train you into the world of entrepreneurship. Now let's go a little bit deeper and specific. Now, entrepreneurship is a world on its own. Just as employment is a world on its own, has its rules and regulations and all that. You need to understand entrepreneurship is also what um, a world on its own. Entrepreneurship is about the mindset. It's what you believe in, the values, the things that you understand that makes you an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship is not just about doing business, it's about the mindset. What do you believe in? What do you understand? How do you go about your activities? How do you perceive things? That is entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is also a journey of education. It's not something that you can just get here and say, "Oh, I'm an entrepreneur." That's so. It's a journey. You have to keep learning because you need to keep adapting to systems and changing. It's a world with different principles, so you need to know what is happening there and learn the principles. Actually, everyone that was born or everyone is born an entrepreneur. You have it in you. The only reason why it is hidden is because the system that we are using, the education system, has buried it. They have taught you so many wrong principles, so many things that are not helping you. And when I say they are not helping you, don't take it from me. Just ask those who are working. Just ask your parents. Just ask those who are working. Ask them how they are feeling. They'll tell you the struggles they are going through. So if you want to be an entrepreneur, you need to unlearn certain things. There's certain things that they tell you in school. You need to clear them from your mind, your memory. Because certain principles doesn't work. You need to also change your language. It's not everything that you can say as an entrepreneur because words has power, they are spirit. You understand? So you need to change your language. Let's look at some of the things that some of the ways that you have to talk as an entrepreneur. The language. When someone presents you something to buy a car or something, don't open your mouth and say, I cannot afford this. Or when you see a house, a beautiful house, don't say, I cannot afford this. Say, how can I afford this? Do you know why? When you say, I cannot afford this, that's a lazy man's mentality. It blocks your mind. You just sit, that's all, I cannot. Let me not worry myself. But when you say how, it's now a process. You are now going to think about the how. This house is very beautiful. How do I get it? So you now think, your brain begins to work. But when you say, I cannot afford it, I can never be rich, you have already barricaded yourself. You've tamed yourself to a certain limit. That's so you can't do anything again. When they present a business opportunity to you or an investment, then you open your mouth, then you say, it's too risky. I can't do it. Entrepreneurs don't see risk that way. It's not like they love risk or whatever. You see, they manage risk. So ask yourself, how can I manage the risk? You need to calculate. You don't just see things and see the negative side. Put pen to paper. Calculate. If this one doesn't work, this is what will trigger. This is what will happen. Okay, if this one fails, this is what I will do. Okay, this, okay, no, this is a bad thing. Let me stop. No, if this one does this one does this. Okay, this one will trigger this. If this one fail, I'll use this plan B. I'll do this. Ask yourself, how can I manage this risk? Always ask questions. Only time you ask questions, your brain begins to work. Another thing is, don't say I'm looking for a job. I've been a graduate since 2015, yet I've never worked for anyone. I've never taken salary before. But do you know that I've worked for so many businesses? And do you know how? I did not go to companies and ask to work there. I can't send my CV. I don't even have a CV. I can't go somewhere and ask to work there. When I go there, I look at what they are doing, the business they are doing, they are selling. Then I ask them, how can I be a partner? How can I help bring customers here so that I can also receive a token? And there's no business in the world that does not want customers. So if you go there, you tell them that you are a graduate and you think that you can help them to get customers if they explain to you how their things work. You can be looking for customers and be bringing them, and then they give you a wholesale price. So instead of charging you the normal price, let's say it's 200 cedis, they give it to you at 150 cedis. You get customers for them, you get a 50 cedis. That's what I do. Anytime I'm down, I fall as an entrepreneur and I don't have any money. If I want to rise again, I don't look for job. I look for partnership. I look for contract. I go to companies, whatever they are doing, services or this thing. I look, is it something that I can help to get customers for? So now I am working for them indirectly because when you are fortunate, you can even get companies that will give you their items. So they can even give you an ID card, they can even give you a t-shirt, or they will give you someone that will be assigned to you that will help you whenever you get a contract. A person will discuss everything for them on your behalf. It's not the same thing as working for someone. But I see in this case, I control my own salary because if I want more, I get more customers. And my salary is dependent on the number of people I'm bringing. But if I was working for someone, they'll pay me the same amount every month. So when I get the money, if I want to stop, I just stop. Do you get my point? I just stop. Entrepreneurs don't work for money. You see, then they ask you, what do you do? You say, I work for money, or I am working somewhere. You are working for money. Entrepreneurs, money works for them. It's a system. You create a system and money works for you. So you need to mind your language, what you say, because it controls you. And there's certain understanding that you also need to have. Any you are operating in the world of entrepreneurship, never despise small beginnings. Never despise small beginnings. It is very important. I repeat, never despise small beginning. Do you know why? Because everything is about growth, and there is no growth without time. I cannot plant maize and expect to harvest it today. I need to understand that I need time, 3 months, for me to harvest this maize. And so when I plant the maize and they sprout and they are small, I do not have to despise that beginning. So in the world of entrepreneurship, you do not want to uh, 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 think about big things, big things. Think about how to start small and understand that growth comes with time. And never despise the things that you are doing, the small, small things, the small beginnings that are doing. Never despise them. Always be a student. When you say always be a student, entrepreneurship is a journey of education. You need to keep learning. 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 Entrepreneurship, or being a successful entrepreneur, it comes with experience. It comes with experience. You can't just aspire to be a successful entrepreneur and just want it to get it by privilege or something. It comes with hard work, experience, going through the process. And there's nothing like a destination. I'm now a successful entrepreneur. It's a journey. You can be a successful entrepreneur today and lose everything tomorrow. So you keep moving. And that is why you need to celebrate the small success that you have on the journey, on the way. If you are waiting for the big one, it might not come. Another thing that you also need to understand when it comes to entrepreneurship is seek for the best of humanity for humanity. You have to, you see, entrepreneurship is about people. So if you are thinking about the best for humanity, you will become relevant. Look for problems to solve. You want to be an entrepreneur, look for problems to solve. When your mates are talking, when they are complaining about something, don't complain. Listen to it and see how can you solve them. Because when you solve them, they will reward you for solving them. You stay relevant by solving problems. When I'm talking to you and you're complaining, I'm not listening to your complaint. I'm listening to how can I solve this? Because if I solve it, you will reward me. Seek for the best for humanity, and you will be an entrepreneur. Let's now look at the values of entrepreneurship or an entrepreneur. What are some of the core things that you need to hold dear? Things that you should understand. Number one is determination. Hey, when you want to understand entrepreneurship, go into the animal kingdom. Animals do not work for another animal. They do not work for other people. They provide for themselves. They are entrepreneurs. When you consider a lion, for instance, when they want to hunt for something, look at the determination. Or let's say a cheetah, when they are hunting for antelope, look at the determination, the things they go through. They push, they are determined to get it and they push until they get it. And that is perseverance. You don't give up no matter the bumps, the whatever, the rough curves, the rough rides, or they push until they get it. You have to be goal oriented. You can't just be there and then you're not thinking about, you don't have any vision. We don't even know where you are going. You can't start something without a vision. You need to be goal oriented. What do you even want to achieve in life? What do you want as an entrepreneur? Why are you starting this journey? What do you want? You need to ask questions. You need to be innovative when it comes to doing things. When you are listening to people's problem, ask yourself, how can I innovate? How can I create this thing? How can I solve their problem? Think about innovative ways. Think of beautiful ways. And you have to be creative. These values, you cannot be an entrepreneur without having them, because this is what keeps you on the journey. Remember what we said, entrepreneurship is a journey of education, and this is what you have to what? Use throughout the journey. Let's look at some of the skills that you need as an entrepreneur. You need leadership skills. Before you can be an entrepreneur, you need to be a leader. Don't forget, an entrepreneur combines the other factors of production: labor, land, and capital. So, a leader, you need to be a leader, and you need to learn to be a leader. You need to practice being a leader. No one was born leader, you start and that's all. And leadership, when you say leadership, don't be thinking about those who can speak good English or those who are fluent. That's what we confuse. We think that leadership is about if I can talk nicely, if I can make my point clear, that's leadership. So we are mostly voting for people who are eloquent. That's wrong. Leadership goes beyond that. Leadership is about understanding what people need and knowing how to get things for people, knowing how to combine things, knowing how to navigate through problems, knowing how to lead the way, knowing how to pave the way for for other people. Another crucial skill that you need is also management. Do you know how to manage? What do you know about management? You need to learn management. How do you manage people? How do you manage business? You need to learn all these. That's why in business administration, we have something called human resource management. Every department of a business has a management. Communication skills. You need to know how to talk, how to speak, how to communicate your ideas. That is why entrepreneurship is a journey of education, because these things you need to learn them along the way. And you need to have these as your focus and be improving on them. You need to be inspirational. You can't be an entrepreneur without being inspirational, because always you have to have something within you that is propelling you to the next level. Always you want to achieve something, always you want to go higher. Something within you has to keep you moving. So if you are not inspirational, you're not someone who can inspire yourself or someone who who is able to receive inspiration, you cannot be an entrepreneur, because when the road gets blocked, you cannot go through. And you have to be fearless. It's always daunting when you are starting a business or starting a journey, but when you are fearless, you see, there's a statement that says that they said, how do you call it? Uh, they said that there is no courage without fear. There is no courage without fear. You see, courage is not the absence of fear. No, courage is actually the presence of fear. There is fear, but yes, you have courage to press through. That is courage. That is courage. And you need to be fearless. The number one thing that you need as an entrepreneur, and this is what is above all, is understanding people. See, if you want to be an entrepreneur, pay attention to people, read people, understand people. People, they make your whatever you want to do relevant. If you are providing a service or a product and the people do not want, you are irrelevant. They have to buy your product. So you need to understand how people operate, how their brain works, psychology, sociology. These courses, that is why even in business administration, we study psychology and sociology, because business has its foundation on people. If you don't know what they want, you'll miss it. You need to study terrains, patterns, behavior of people. That is what entrepreneurship is about. So, people, the number one key thing that we need as an entrepreneur is people. If you can't understand people, if you can't predict people, if you don't know people, you can't be an entrepreneur. If you don't love people, you can't be an entrepreneur. Now, what makes you an entrepreneur? What makes you an entrepreneur? You want to be an entrepreneur, find solutions to problems. When people are complaining, don't complain. Think about, how do I solve this problem? 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 Always when people are complaining, don't complain. The reason why people are complaining is because they want that problem solved. And the person that solved that problem, they'll reward that person. I might be hungry now, and let's say I cannot cook. So that's a problem. I'm hungry yet I don't have time to cook. So I walk out there and there's a food seller. Oh, you are selling gobe. Please, I want gobe. 5 cedis. Cocoa, 2 cedis. I buy everything, 10 cedis. What just happened? I had a problem, a hunger problem. I needed it to be satisfied. I couldn't satisfy it. So I went out there. Someone somewhere solved my problem for me, provided the food. So I rewarded that person. I rewarded her 10 cedis for giving me food, for satisfying my need. That is how it works. You want to be rewarded? Go around, look for problems, solve them. That makes you an entrepreneur. Do not despise any of them. They are all, every problem is a problem. If you can't solve small problems, you can't solve big problems. The reason why most of us, we cannot start a business, because we want to start a big business. But how can you start a big business when you haven't started a small business, or you haven't started a small business before? Solve small problems. It gets your brain working. Then you can solve bigger challenges. You want to be an entrepreneur, you need to have the ability to predict people. You need to be able to predict people because you are relevant because of them. So if people change, it affects your business. So you need to know when they are changing. You need to know when to adjust. A clear example is the mobile phone industry. See the way they keep adjusting their phone to suit our needs. They know that we need this, we want a camera that is of quality, we want this. So they have to always be matching our expectations and giving us beautiful phones. And anytime they give us beautiful phone, we reward them with money. That's how it works. An entrepreneur has the ability to combine all other factors of production to create value. Do you want to be an entrepreneur? These are three things that you need to pay attention to. Find solutions to problems, love people, predict people, be able to predict people, be able to understand people. And the third one is you should be able to combine all these factors of production. Remember, entrepreneurship is a journey of education. Just be a student. Thank you for joining today's lesson. We'll see you tomorrow, and tomorrow we will start the course on the business, starting the business. How do you start the business? How do you create the idea? We'll go through that, how to get an idea. And when we're done, we'll have the brainstorm session whereby you will get to create your own business idea and we'll help transform the idea into a business. Don't give up yet. The future is very bright. The future is very bright. Let's just keep on the journey. Don't forget, in entrepreneurship, we do not despise small beginnings. See you tomorrow. Thank you very much. Bye.